everyone, welcome to a different kind of a review. I'm not going to talk about any individual game, but rather all of these games as a whole. I'm going to try to talk about which ones are best that I think, and which ones are not great, I think. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and talk about these three games first. So, the first of these games that I played was this one, and I was surprised to find out that it is an action RPG with like random encounters. Well, not really random actually. On-screen enemy encounters that take you to a battle screen where you fight and gain experience points. I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely the combat feels a bit stiff. Enemies can sometimes seem cheap. And at the same time, you can sort of, in a cheap way, defeat a lot of enemies. So it doesn't seem really too balanced real well, but it does have that exploration bit to it. And you have different moves that you learn as you level up, things like that. There are side quests and things in it. So that's pretty cool. It also has an original story. All three of these games share the same original story. Only difference being presentation mostly. This game has some voice acting, like at key points. This game has a lot of voice acting and a lot more cutscenes. And this game doesn't have any voice acting. But this was the second game I played in this of these three. And it's kind of more of a puzzle game. Your characters each have their own specific abilities, and you use them to you get more abilities as you go through the game, and you use their abilities to cross certain areas and things like that. Both of these games Haru joins you, and this game Haru does not join you. He is in the game, but he doesn't like join your party as like a permanent member. And then finally, this game, which I played last of these three, I was very surprised, or rather pleased, just to have some solid. It's very much like this game in the fact that it's an action RPG. Only in this game, you don't have a separate battle screen. It's just more of a beat 'em up kind of fighting, but you still gain experience points and level up and learn new moves and things like that. Plus, what this game has that the other ones don't have is equipment. So you can find equipment which, affects your stats in different ways. So after playing all three of them, the conclusion I sort of came to was that this one is really just a simplified version of this one. So these two are very much alike, only this one's a lot. It's bigger in the sense that there's more stuff to do and more things to find. I like the combat better in this game a lot more. Again, this one, the combat is very stiff and cheap at times. Where this one's a lot more fun and a lot more action-y, I guess you could say. And then this game, of course, is still fun because it's unique in that it's a puzzle. It's more puzzle oriented. There's a lot more puzzles to figure out and solve just trying to adventure through the game. You don't level up in this game. It's more just enemies do exist, but the way you fight them is simply just to get past them as an obstacle. So, of these three games, if you're you really want to play some Avatar, you could probably skip this one and just get these two. And in my individual game reviews, I've gone over the differences in the Wii version over like PS2 or Xbox versions of the game. But yeah, the Game Boy Advance game is a unique game in that it plays differently from these ones completely. Although it is the same story for the most part. The story in this one is of course abridged. It's a shorter game than either of these two. But these two both go to the same like places and such. They hit the same story beats for the most part. So yeah, that's those. Let's go ahead and move on to the next group. So what we have here is The Burning Earth. So of these three games, the first one I played, it was actually this one. But right off the bat, I didn't like it. This game, so I got this game new when it first came out for like $50, and I was sorely disappointed. This was the first Avatar game I even played, so I had some expectations on what an Avatar game would be like, and they were not met. This game, specifically on the Wii, I don't know. Maybe other versions, like Xbox, PS2 versions, have this problem too, but I don't know. This game seemed to freeze. Like, I cannot go through a full playthrough of this game without freezing at least once. Particularly, there's an Appa mission that seems to freeze once every playthrough. I mean, I restart it and it doesn't freeze, but it still freeze. I still expect it to freeze in the Appa level. It has freeze in other places too, like other levels. It's not just that level, but that seems to be the most recurring one. This game does have two-player co-op. This is the first game in the Avatar video game universe to have two-player. So that's cool. If you were to play this game, I would probably play it on another system. I don't exactly recommend it because the presentation in this game is a bit different from the first one. A lot of the characters when they have animated and voiced cutscenes, it looks pretty good, like better than the first game. But most of the game is just they stand and talk, and when they do that, the characters just sort of like stand in an idle animation without their mouths moving, and they talk over it. It's not like there's text boxes to like excuse you. Okay, yeah, you're looking at the text rather than their faces like some other games. But they look just like unfinished cutscenes where they have like basic gestures where they like move their hands and stuff. But they'll talk without moving their mouths. And there's no text on screen, well, unless you turn on subtitles. But it looks like it's supposed to be a cutscene that's just not finished, and it's really bad looking. It's really lame. And I don't remember this being a problem when I first played it, but now when I play it, there are bending puzzles where you're supposed to like use the Wii remote in a certain way, and the sensitivity sucks. It just does not work most of the time. So if you were to play this game, don't play it on the Wii. Just don't. But for the most part, I don't really recommend this game anyway. The second game of these three that I played was this one. In fact, this was the second Avatar game I even played, and I was like shocked at how good this game is because it plays totally differently. It being a Game Boy Advance game, it has a different take on the story and presentation. It is more of a puzzle action beat 'em up kind of game. So the main thing about this game is you can just play through it and beat up all the enemies and take your time solving the puzzles and beat the level, and you can beat the game just fine like that. The game will just let you beat it like that. And the thing is, when you play this game, each level gives you a rank at the end, and it seems like I beat the level just fine, but it does show you that your health and time contributes to your score. So you can sort of get a sense of what you're supposed to be doing. But what you don't even realize, I didn't realize until I saw like the opening, when you see on the title screen, you see like a demo play. I realized when I saw that there are combos to be gained from how you defeat enemies. Like you defeat enemies in specific ways, and you can like send one enemy flying into all the other ones. so it creates combo. And so once you figure out that this is a combo-based game, you start looking for where the combos are, and you realize, oh wait, I could do this, I could do this, and it becomes a lot more fun in that there's sort of like a game here that isn't presented to you at first, but you realize what it is, and it becomes amazingly fun. So yeah, I definitely think this is a great game. This game is a bit different. Oh yeah, so this game is just like a straight up platforming action game, beat 'em up kind of thing. This game is more along the lines of the first DS game, where it's an action RPG, where you gain levels from defeating enemies and such, and you have different screens for fighting enemies when you encounter them on the main map. If you can imagine the first game of this is basically upgraded in almost every way. So all the battle mechanics are better. The way that they handle fights is better. Like in the first game, you have 4 people just like in a big diamond-shaped map that just fight each other all the time. In this game, the battle screens have different shapes to them. They're not all the same shape. And you only have 2 people in your party at the same time. But because of that, the number of enemies and such in a battle is reduced, so it balances. And enemies all have health bars on them, which didn't happen in the first game, so you're like speeding up on an enemy, you don't know how much HP they have left. There are little mini games that are fun to play. The back of the box advertises Firebend for the first time. You only play as Zuko Iroh in this one mini game where you're running across the screen and you just have to hit stuff to get out of your way. So yeah, whatever. But yeah, this is definitely a good game. I mean, because this isn't an action RPG like the first game was, and this definitely isn't an action RPG, this is definitely worth playing to like fill that void. So if you want to play, so like the first game, it's an action RPG. If you want more of that, this game's not going to do it. But this game will, because this game is totally fun. So if you played the first DS game and you liked it, this is definitely like better in every way. Although, going back to my first argument, you don't really need to get this game because this game is just basically a much more fuller experience. So, but this game definitely substitutes in for the Burning Earth series of action RPGs. So yeah, all 3 of these games play differently. I definitely think both of these are worth playing, and this one is not, oddly enough, which is different from how the first group was categorized. So yeah, that's the Burning Earth. Let's go ahead and go into the next group. So in this group, we've only got 2 games. They did not put out a Game Boy Advance game for Into the Inferno. So all we have is a DS game and a Wii game. And the Wii game, of course, is available on like PS2 and such. So between these 2, this is the first game I played. I got all the DS games that I have for Avatar like all last year, and I played them all like one after the other. So when I got to this one, it was pretty different. So this one does not continue the DS tradition, I guess, and it's not an action RPG. It's just a puzzle platformer kind of thing. So this one, of course, also has the super deformed character look to it. So all the characters are like chibi looking, This one is, each level is sort of set up with a bunch of puzzles, and the game gives you 2 characters to work through them all, and you do have to use both of them together to get to the end of the level. There are like sections where you have to split up the characters. Combat in this game is you have your stylus, and when you see an enemy, you just tap on them and you'll go attack them. Also, there will be like piles of earth or water or fire around, which you can use to bend, and you just tap on it and you move it across the screen and you hit enemies with it. So that's how you use bending in this game, and it works fine. The presentation is, of course, really funny. There is no voice acting. There's like no voice dialogue lines in this game, but it's still pretty fun. It goes through the entire third season of Avatar. You know, in Fire Book of Fire, and I don't know. It's pretty fun. It does have multiplayer. To do the main campaign multiplayer, you have to have a copy of the game for each player. But they have like a volleyball mini game which you can play without. You can play that with a single card. So if you just have this game, you can play the volleyball mini game with everybody that you want. But yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to play the campaign and story mode, because there's also like costumes you can put on, which you can only put on if you're playing this in multiplayer for some reason. So you unlock costumes for your characters, and you can only use them in volleyball and the multiplayer campaign. You can't put on your costumes in the single player campaign, which is really kind of lame. But I guess that is what it is. So yeah, this is a fun game, and the presentation is of course funny. Into the Inferno. Now this game is the last game I played here for Avatar in the Avatar video game universe, and this game I was surprised at how good it is. So it's like an action platformer, puzzle platformer, kind of like this game, but it's actually good. So the bending in this game works very differently in that this game is like made for the Wii. You just point your Wii remote at the screen on elements, and you push a button, and you can bend it. So yeah, there wasn't bending like that in the previous game. I mean, there was bending, but it didn't work at all like this one. So this game's pretty good. Pretty good. There's a bunch of different levels. Of course, this game is also co-op. So if you got a buddy to play it with, you should definitely do that. There's also different game modes. Like there's a game mode where you can like fly around some islands as Aang on a glider, which is like Wii Sports Resort, how they have like the fly around Woohoo Island and stuff. Where there's like a shooting balloons contest thing. There's a simply fly around the island and find cool stuff. And there's like a race mode in here. So this is all just single player stuff. The multiplayer is only in like the main campaign stuff. So there is that. But I definitely want to play multiplayer this sometime, just to see how good it is. But this game is definitely fun, at least on my own. There's a lot better puzzles to be done. I mean, it's kind of like a Lego game in the sense that the multiplayer, or like the main campaign, I don't know. Maybe I'm spouting nonsense. I mean, there's not like a single collectible to get, but that's just how the level structure felt to me, in a similar way. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it like that. But this game is actually pretty short. Like I mentioned in the main review for this game, that like the third level is the invasion, and that's like halfway through the show. You do go to like big stuff. You go to, you know, the prison and such. What the heck? But yeah, I guess I don't know what else to say. I definitely think this is a good game. This is it's fun. It's definitely worth getting on the Wii specifically because of the motion controls. They're actually good in this game. But yeah, that just leaves me with one more game to cover here. So the last one I have is The Last Airbender, based off the movie. So this game is actually good. So this game, what it is basically the same as this game in this sense, in like combat and such. However, this game focuses a lot more on, well, I guess they both focus on puzzles. But this game plays out differently. So, of course, you're playing through basically what is the first season of the show. And you play only as Aang and Zuko. So that's pretty cool. The story just like switches back and forth between their perspectives. So you play through the story of the game, switching back and forth between their perspectives. Like that's how the story works. And there's set levels that you go through. There's long levels actually, and there's lots of puzzles and lots of fighting. The combat is the same in that you see an enemy and you tap on them to hit them. Bending, there isn't the same kind of bending like you see as stuff and you drag it across the screen, but it has its own kind of bending system. And then there's little side quests that you can do in some levels, not every level, but some levels. And there's power-ups to find to upgrade your character, to learn new moves, make your moves stronger and such like that. But yeah, you go through like so for Zuko, one of the levels you play through is his blue spirit training. So how he became the blue spirit, which is something that you don't see in the movie or the show anywhere. So that's cool. You can get like a perspective on that. But yeah, this was actually like a good game. I was surprised. It's actually, good. Alright. So to wrap things up here, if we're going to talk about all of these games, which ones are the best, which ones are worth playing, let's go ahead and talk about this. Can't really put them all on screen. So, I guess I should, I don't know why I'm in a mess, I should just organize them here real quick. Okay, so here we go. Of the first season, just to recap, so this is definitely a good puzzle game. This is just a simplified version of this. I mean, not simplified in that it's bad, but the combat is not as good in this as in this. Plus, this has a lot more spoken dialogue, which is funny stuff, than this one. So, it's not a bad game per se, but this one I think is just better in most ways. They're not completely identical. They do have like some different locations and such to explore. But if you only want to experience the story once, then you should get this one. So yeah, you definitely don't think you need this one. Between these, however, this one is also very good. It's an action puzzle beat 'em up kind of game. It's kind of unique, I think. Oh yeah, something I didn't mention is that all three of these games end on the drill. Like the drill is moved back to the finale of everything. Like Ba Sing Se, you defeat like the Dai Li and stuff before that. Well, actually, this game actually presents the story better. Like you go like have like Jet do his thing with whatever Long Fang or whatever, and then you fight the drill, whatever. And but this one actually goes through the drill and ends, but then there's like passwords for like more levels, and it goes beyond that all the way to the Earth King and such. Long Fang is still like the final boss though, so that doesn't make sense. You don't. Basically, none of these games you fight Zuko and Azula in a Crystal Cavern, and that's kind of disappointing. But definitely play this game and this game for stuff. This one you can skip unless you get it on another system. Still, the presentation on this game kind of sucks. So for these games, they're both good basically. So just play them both. If I had to put one over the other, I don't know. This one is longer. The DS game is longer, I think, than the Wii game. But the Wii game has multiplayer, so figure that out. You just kind of have to figure that out for yourself. This game, I think it's good. Why don't I have the Wii game though? This game has no voice acting, and that's a good thing, because they're not going to mispronounce all the characters' names. So yeah, if you get the Wii game, I'm sure the Wii game is probably like this one a bit or something. Actually, I've seen some gameplay. It's probably more like this one in a bad way. I don't know. I don't know if they have good puzzles or not in it. I can't speak for the Wii game or PS2, whatever you want to play it on. It's probably a fine, average game as some of these are. But this game has no voice acting. So, as a fan of the show and series, I appreciate there not being voice acting from the movie in this game. So yeah, it's fun though. And you get to play as the Blue Spirit in his training. So yeah, you should definitely play all of these games. These games are all pretty good. You can pass on these two, mostly because this one's like redundant. If you play this game, you're not really going to need to play this game. And then this game, the presentation is just horrible, horrible, horrible. I mean, it's like one Wii game that you're missing out on in this series, but it's just not good. Plus, it crashes on me, so it's just a bad product. And then, yeah, I already talked about this. So yeah, you can skip these two. These are probably like the lowest on the chain, I guess you could say. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Avatar game series. All of these games. So, if you thought this was helpful to you at all, and like maybe picking out games you want to play, go ahead and give the video a like, please. Please, if you would. And then, yeah, that's all the games here that I have. And, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.